Hey guys, I'm Tracy and I'm back in the private label studio, and I am here today to make another unit for you guys. My wig cap of choice is the mesh cap, and the number on here is 5011. They come in different colors: brown, blonde, black, obviously. Today we're going to be using, obviously, our private label luxurious hair, and we have a closure unit here. We're going to be doing 18-inch closure, 20 inches, 22 inches, and 24 inches. You want to make sure you have your thread locked and loaded here, and then you also want to make sure you have your bobbin. So this is where you find your bobbin, and it's here. And so here is a fully threaded bobbin. We're just going to place that in there, and we're going to lace this machine. Some other things that I like to keep are my nylon threads, and that's how I start my closure. I use my scissors, and it's always good to have a seam ripper in case you mess up and you need to go back and do some things. And then it's also always good to have extra needles. This is the needle that you use for the actual sewing machine. I also like to keep extra pins handy. Just starting out, we're gonna go ahead and thread our bobbin, and if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. I am here for you. So, I don't know if you can see this, but if you go into, there's some grooves in there. You want to lock that into that groove, and then you want to wheel your side wheel back towards you, and you'll see there's a loop in there, and it basically has caught the under loop, and your bobbin is threaded. So the bobbin purpose is the threading that goes under the seam, and this one is the one that goes on top. So you're gonna see me today make a wig or custom wig unit on the sewing machine. I always start with the unit with the V side. If you see there, it goes into a V, and so with that side you want to place that in the back. And so you have your bust head on your mannequin block head, and you want to place it on, and sometimes they pop off, but it's okay. So they have these lines, and imagine that being your center and this being your nose. And so you want to kind of line that up so that you can get a perfect idea of where you want that closure or frontal to sit. And then you kind of want to line it up as if it was an actual head. Now that we have that in place, I'm going to open my pins. So what I like to do, you guys, is take from here to here. So this is your center. And I like to line that up right where it meets on the line here. And I'm going to turn it facing me, so I hope you guys can see this. But I want to make sure, but you want the very front of that to line up with your wig cap. So you want to take your pins and you want to place them on that crease, and you can stretch it a little bit, that's okay. And then you want to put this one the same way. Now sometimes you'll have a little gap, so what I like to do is kind of flip it out and I'll stretch it. So I kind of have an idea. I'll stretch it a little bit, and then I can pull it back and make sure that that line is lined up with that as well. So then I'm going to take 2 more pins and place those in the back like so on each corner. So once I do that, it should be very flush. And we are ready. So when we don't have a banana clip or any type of clipping to pull it away, you can just do a little soft braid just to kind of pin this hair out of your way. But I take my nylon thread. This again is my favorite thread of choice. I do about 2 arm spans or wing spans, whatever you choose to call it. And I just cut it off here, and I get my curved needle. But we're just gonna lace this thread and put a knot on the end, and I'll show you how I knot mine. So I just take my 2 ends, pull them like almost like a shoestring together, and then I tie it with a loop and just pull it in like that. And so this extra, it's okay. We're just gonna cut that excess off. So from here we have our needle threaded, and we're just gonna start from each corner all the way to the next side here and start stitching. So the type of stitching that I do, and it again is preference, but we're showing you the way that I do it. I loop this around just to kind of give it some sort of anchoring. So that's there, and it's nice and taut. And then I take my thread and I pull it up, and I go in again, just not necessarily an inch away, but I do it fairly close together because I am going to reinforce this with the sewing machine. And I stick this back in the head and we remove our pins. And so now it's the fun part. The fun part is sewing. I usually run this through that and have it going backwards, right? And so because it's all tied down, I do give it a little stretch, but not too much of a pull. But I push, or not push, you don't want to push. I place, place the beginning of the unit with the cap where it meets the mesh of the closure, and then I close it. I want to make sure it's right up under that needle. I also want to make sure that my foot pedal is close by, and I am going to, in my thread setting, I am on zigzag. I like zigzag because it eliminates error. So now what I'm going to do, I have my thread locked down, and I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to step on my foot pedal, and I know it went in. So then I'm going to back it up to just kind of reinforce it, just like that. And so after I do that, now I'm good to go. So I just keep going, and I'm not pushing it or anything like that. I'm just allowing the foot pedal to guide through. And so you want to cut that thread off. And it's okay, guys, if you get some threading in here, because that's going to come off anyway when you cut the lace. So now that you have your lace on here, or your closure, you want to always, always, always check your work. So when you're checking your work, you put it back on a mannequin. It's nice and snug. And now we can start with our adding of the tracks. Again, the fun part. In this case, we're going to start out as single tracks, and then we'll get as much of the hair in as we can. And as we get to the top, I'll be able to determine if we need to double the tracks in order to make sure we get all the bundles in here. Normally, a regular bob unit is about 2 bundles in a closure, and usually it's like a 10 or 14, but these are fairly long. So you guys, if you have not checked out Private Label's hair, this is so awesome, the hair that's coming already colored. So what I typically do, I start at the bottom. And so I'm gonna just start out here, and I'm gonna work my way up. So as I'm working my way up, you'll see how I start and how I stop, and we'll get all this hair in here, okay? So I'm gonna just kind of measure it out, and this looks like it's the back side because you can see it's double wefted already. So I'm gonna take it this way. I don't pre-cut it because what if I need more hair, or what if I mismeasured, something like that. So I just pretty much go right in with the track, and from that track that I want to lay it down about right here, and then I'm gonna shut my needle down, hold my needle down, put my foot on the pedal, and here we go. Again, I'm not pushing it, I'm just allowing it to guide its way through, and I'm gonna give it just a little bit of mate. I cut that thread, and every time it will get a little redundant, but you always, always, always want to make sure as you put the hair on the cap, you wanna come back and make sure that you have no lumps and no bumps. And what I mean by that is sometimes if you push this track or are pulling the track, it'll bunch up. So you always want to make sure that this is nice and flush, that there is no lumps and bumps, and that it's nice and smooth. Because as you get, no one wants a lumpy wig. So you always want to make sure that this is flat. So in order to do that, you want to do this step every time. You want to make sure that after every time you stitch, you put it back on the cap to make sure, because let's just say you got all the way to the center and you realized that you had a lump somewhere because you was either pulling it or pushing it and it was too tight. And so if you did that, then you got to go back, take your seam ripper and try to figure out where that lump is and try to get it out of there. And so we're next gonna put it right on top of there. As we get to the sides around the ears, we're gonna start slightly going up so that the hair falls a certain way. But right now we're still on the nape of the neck. We want to get it right at the bottom. Close our lever, stick that in there. And then we're done with that. And you can see it goes very quick, guys. So you shouldn't take a whole lot of time. This is like very innovative, a new way to do something, right? You see how it's nice and flat and we're not pushing or anything like that to make those tracks bubble up. And we're gonna start again right on top of there. So if you start right on top, you pretty much will follow that. That's your guide, and for me, that's been my guide and how it works for me, instead of drawing on there. Because sometimes I find with, even if I draw my lines, I either don't use them or add more, and it's just a waste of time for me. We're gonna go in again. We're gonna drop our needle. So you guys are so lucky. Private label is changing the game, honestly. Like, they're allowing you guys to see some things that normally would cost you, and you're getting to see this firsthand just by coming over and checking out these videos. So I think that is amazing. What a great way to give back. And this is about how much hair we have left. So I do know that we should definitely be able to get all 3 bundles in, because when the hair is longer, like this is a 24 inch, when the hair is longer, it allows you to put more hair on. There's no wrong way to do it. Again, this is just the way I was trained, and this is the way I do it. I have tweaked some things since I've been trained. So here we are again. We always want to check our work. And like I said, you can cut those excess strings off now. We are still nice and flush. There's no lumps and bumps. And that's what we want to see, like that. I'm just going to keep threading here. And again, you always want to back stitch. Nice and flush. You always want to check. Another good reason why to check. So we're going to start again. And like I said, you want to cut these strings off now, or you'll end up having to do it at the end. And so again, this is the amount of hair I have left, and we're just still on the first bundle. So we're almost done here. And back stitch. And so you can see on the mannequin that we're almost up here by the ears. Is where we're going to start shifting the hair to kind of curve around. And so you can see how the 24 inch can go all the way around the head, and you'll still have your long pieces here. It's going to go up, and it's going to kind of cascade around the face when this person gets ready to wear this unit. You want to start with your hair, and you want to put it just on that corner in its curved position. You want to get your needle down. You want a little give, but not so much. And you want to back stitch and sew that around the edges, so that, like I said, you can have your long hairs in the front and go all the way around. Lift that up and you're done. So now that that's done, you want to cut that off. And so we're pretty much done with that first bundle, because we're not going to use that piece unless we needed it in the end. Still nice and flush. There's no lumps and bumps. You have your long pieces. And now this is optional. Again, this is kind of advanced. I just did that to kind of show you guys. If we didn't want to do that, we can always take the seam ripper and take that off. It would take more time, but it's pretty easy to do. And it kind of gives you just that longer look. And then you'll have your other bundles in here. So we started with the 24, and we're going to go in now with the 22. And so now what we're going to do, we can see that we have quite a bit left to sew, and that's from here to here. And so we pretty much will definitely be able to get all 3 bundles in here. And so I have 2 options here. I do not have to keep sewing around here, because that's going to make that tight. And so I can just kind of keep going back and forth the way that we were doing, and it'll kind of give it some leeway. So I'm just kind of starting right above like the ear area. And these caps do stretch after a while. When they get to stretching to the point where they feel like it's too loose, you can always put a band in there. This one is going to be nice and full. All of your density will be right here in the back. It's already kind of got a little style to it. You don't have to do much. If you want to put some wand curls in there, you can. That would be very pretty. This hair is very nice, you guys. I'm just pulling the extra threads out because you can really see them. The cap is real stretchy. So if you experience lumps when you're trying to make it on a sewing machine, check your cap. So we're getting closer to the top and still no lumps or bumps. A good 2 more tracks with this. So let's keep going. Again, we're here. We have no lumps. It's getting thick. It's getting very thick, actually. We want to stack it right on top of there. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're wanting to make sure we fit all 3 bundles. Now, and we have 1 more bundle to go. And this is what we had of the first bundle. So that was my 24 inch. This is my 22 inch. And we're on number 20, bundle 3. Now, all I need to do is get this one last track in here, or bundle in here. She is gonna be cooking with grease. So what I'm gonna show you guys is when you're making them on the inside, this is what it looks like. So remember I told you I use a zigzag pattern. I don't know that you can see it all that well because I am using black thread, but you can kind of tell the stitching is very close together. I don't know if y'all can see that. Okay, so the stitching is very close together because you want to make sure that you're getting all those bundles in. As we get up to the top, we have 1 bundle left and we don't need it to be so thick in the top. So you think about, again, hair placement. Most people in the crown of their head, just in real life, do not have like full thick hair coming out of the top of their head. And in my area of expertise, most people lose their hair in the crown of their head first, which is called androgenetic alopecia or male pattern baldness, things like that. So just because it's a wig, you still want to make it look as realistic as possible. So you don't want to make it so thick in the top of the head because it's just going to look funny. So we're at the top where we put that initial 24 inch, and I'm gonna start it right here. And I'm gonna pull my needle down and get my foot pedal and back stitch. In this instance is where I said we're not going to make it so close to the previous stitching. So we're gonna go maybe a 1/2 inch above, not a full inch. So you see here, no lumps, no bumps, and we have that much more to go. 1 bundle left. This little braid is holding on, y'all. And you also want to kind of keep your area nice and clean so that you can kind of know what's happening and what's going on. So I'm going to start here at this corner. We're almost done, guys. Almost done. You don't want to come up too high because then you can see there's a lot of spacing in there. So you want to work smart, right? You don't want to miss out on opportunity to fill. So you see how we got that going. And we have this on top. No humps, no bumps. I am giving y'all all my tricks. This is behind the scenes. You saw it first. So this is a great example. I'm so glad I was able to show y'all this. So if you can see now, you see how tight this is and how much space we did in the middle. So this is about the spacing that we would do if it was a two bundle unit. It would be about this much spacing, and when we're doing 3, it could have been a little looser, could have been, or could have been, you know, just as tight if we had more hair. So what we want to do, I want to make sure I don't get the one that goes all the way up to the top. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick maybe like this one. So I go in here and I find a nice long bundle, and I take my seam ripper and rip it out. And now I have more hair. So ordinarily, maybe a person who hasn't made units before would get nervous at this point and think, oh my gosh, what do I do? No, we're good. We're gonna take our seam ripper. We can see where the thread is. We're gonna take that off. So we know that we can get around this because we have more than that. And so we can just go from here to here, and then that's enough to fill that. And we don't have to go back because we have more hair that can go there. And so if you still wanted to get all the hair in, you can, absolutely. And then it'll be no hair left behind. So we'll get all of this in here. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're almost done. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks that we're gonna show you how we made this work. But wasn't that a cool tip? You guys just learned something. You always wanna make sure you have your handy dandy seam ripper. And I know it's not the funnest, if that's the word, yeah, funnest thing to do, but it is definitely needed. And that's why we have it. So I'm glad I was able to show you guys that trick. So don't panic if that happens, you guys. There's a way around it. See, you can't even tell. Like if you needed to, if let's just say you weren't the stylist and you were making this for, you were ghost wig making for someone, you can literally go in here and just kind of chip away at it. And sometimes the stylists who you're making it for don't want you to cut into their units because they're going to do their curls and whatever, and it's going to be fine. But you see how now we only have this amount left from here to here, and we still have pieces. We have these pieces of hair remaining, and I think I left, yeah, the shortest one out. So I did not use the shortest one yet. I'm going to still use that one last. I have fulfilled my job and got all 3 bundles as the client requested. I had to do a little rearranging, but sometimes that happens, and that's with eyeballing it. Sometimes and even though you have like 1 or 2 more to go, you still want to put it on the mannequin head. No matter how redundant this is, you want to make sure you do this because you want to see where you are. So you have that much left. So let's get this off and continue. We could close this in, but like I said, I want to get all of this hair on here. So we're pretty much done. And so you see that there's what's left, and we'll make it happen with our last piece. All right, you guys, we can now do the last step, and that is, you can do this at the beginning or at the end when you flip this over and you have this little mesh piece that's under the closure. What I like to do is have my hand here as a guide, and I cut this away. So that's done. You want to also, like I said, go back through and make sure you cut any loose threads off. I'm gonna cut those threads, but you wanna go ahead and also take that braid down. And this is where you get into your customizing. If this was for your client, you want to go ahead and mold her down, put her under the dryer, put a part in it, or whatever the case may be. But this is your finished product. And this is how she looks. We can do nice and full, and you cannot tell that we left a bundle, or that we took a bundle out of the back and put it in the top. But all 3 bundles are in. This is literally what we have left, not even a whole track. So that's it, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. It has been my pleasure to walk you through steps and tips and tricks of what I do and what I have done over the past 5 years. Again, my name is Traci. It's been my pleasure. You can contact me at Crimson Beauty Salon on Instagram, Crimson Beauty Salon on TikTok. I am a licensed cosmetologist and certified trichologist, and I'll be more than happy to help you out in your hair care needs. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.